I promise the Sherman review is coming, but I just couldn't wait to show you this game. This is gotta be the easiest 6-kill game I've ever had. The Sherman is just that good. The more I've been playing this ship, the more I've been enjoying it. It is so much fun to play. It's very relaxing, and I don't find it particularly difficult to play, even in the passive meta here. Since the enemy team is so far back and it's so passive, I can very easily, confidently take this fight with this Hayate, even with my reduced concealment, or lack of concealment. Sorry, I'm very easily spotted in the Sherman, and just look at how fast this guy dies. The sap is disgusting. So we dealt 20k in that short of a time. Just ridiculous levels of DPM on this ship. Especially the sap, it's ridiculous. These destroyer fights come so easily. And as is tradition as it seems with these videos, I am happening to hit torpedoes as well. This is not a torpedo ship, and this is not a torpedo build. I'm actually very gun focused in this one. Very much all in on the DPM. And now that there's battleships that are left essentially alone, defenseless against us, we can just burn them down. A bow-in, stationary, reversing ship is so easy to hit. These arcs, as you can see, are amazing. And we get a fire right away on the Alsace. So we switch to the Vermont, rotating crops, rotating damage. That's kind of the idea here with this level of DPM and fire starting ability. Of course, I am going to take some hits here since I'm not angled perfectly and I'm not ready to be dodging exactly correctly right yet, since I'm not used to the maneuverability of the Sherman quite yet. But as I get more comfortable with it, this ship will be much better at dodging shells. It's not the fastest, it's not the most maneuverable, but when you know the limits of a ship, it just becomes a little easier to survive. And that's okay, because even if I'm not used to the maneuverability quite yet, I can play at 13, 14, 15 kilometers and still get my main guns off relatively accurately. The DPM, as you can see, is just ridiculous. We're already up to 75k damage, and we're not even close to done yet on these battleships. As soon as I get these fires ready to go, I want to swap to the sap. Since HE, if you're hitting a spot of the ship that's already on fire, you essentially have a 0% fire chance. So it's much more worth it to gain the extra alpha damage that sap is going to give. And it's very much worth it to be considering these things while playing the Sherman. Always thinking about when I can get the most use out of this sap. And that's resulted in some of these amazing games. It's really not good to only use the sap, but it's also really not good to use only the HE. An intelligent use of both is going to net the most damage, the highest impact games possible. This game, of course, is barely 5 minutes old, I guess nearing the 6-minute mark here, and we're already over 100k. Kind of ridiculous. I obviously got quite lucky that these battleships just sat here and took all of this DPM for me, and a poor Vermont, well, a 40-second reload dealing with this, yeah, it's pretty brutal, especially when he's so bow in, he can only get his front guns off at me. And in fact, he's not actually even shooting at me all that much. It's only when he's about to die that he takes one last shot at me, and I turn in just in time to dodge everything. I'm laughing, but I've been in that poor Vermont's position. It certainly doesn't feel very good. This level of DPM, the farming ability of the Sherman, is just hilarious. I've even played this ship in a division with another Sherman with a friend of mine, and the focus fire potential is just ridiculous. I'll be showing that very much in the review coming up, but for now, a solo game that went incredibly well. And again, another battleship just pushing in. This is free, the freest damage that I could possibly ask for. And even though my torpedoes are loaded right now, you'll notice I'm very focused on the guns. I should probably be trying to get the torpedoes off, especially when I'm at an angle like this. But honestly, the gun damage is just so good that that's really what I want to be focusing on here, especially to try and get another fire. The Sherman really is amazing to play, and I honestly do think it is the best ship you can get for coal at the moment. And that's with me only playing 10 games and still getting used to it. This level of DPM and shell velocity and HP pool. Don't forget, this is 28,000 HP. It's a lot. I think this ship is just so consistent and overall really, really good into today's meta, and I think future metas, since it's reasonably good into this passive one, that if things start to change eventually and we get more pushing, more aggressive plays, you can see how good it is at dealing with aggressive plays from the enemy. So I think this ship is a very worthwhile pickup. If you want to know my opinion before I really go into the details of the DPM and survivability, that kind of thing, just from a pure feel perspective, I think this is an amazing pickup. And honestly, it's much more comfortable to play than even a ship like Marceau for me, since Marceau has relatively poor shell velocity, and that results in some awkward situations where max range trying to hit some cruisers or battleships can be a little bit tough. So while Marceau has the DPM, it's insane in those close range engagements against DDs. Of course, French saturation is a huge bonus to survivability. I actually feel much more comfortable and confident playing the Sherman. Overall, my strategy this game, as you can see, has certainly been to just hold mouse 1 down. I don't want to be breaking a mouse by double-clicking all the time, but seriously, always shooting with this build in particular, I think is the best way to go right now. And a stealth build, more destroyer hunter focused build could be really, really fun and interesting in the future. But running this long range damage output focused build is just so good. Look at how quickly we burned through a Missouri here on, I think he was around 10,000 HP. He's dead so quickly. And that is actually our Kraken already. We're 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes into the game, and I'm at 165k damage and 5 kills. I haven't even activated Halsey's Confederate. As you guys saw in the previous video, that makes this ship even crazier. It's ridiculous with the Confederate from Halsey, but even without it, it's just that good. I really do have a ton of fun with this ship. And honestly, the level of consistency is a nice change from some of the more RNG heavy capital ships, battleships, that kind of thing, right? Where I'm firing once every 30 seconds, and a lot of the damage output comes down to dispersion and my positioning, whether I'm getting broadsides or not. This thing, as long as someone's in my range, they're taking damage, and it's very consistent damage. Even against these bow-in ships, assuming I'm aiming properly, the fire output, the HE damage, is more than enough to take out a ton of these ships. And I make a pretty classic new to gunboat destroyer mistake here, and I smoke up while being the only one spotting my victim here, my target of all this DPM and firepower. This is something that as I get more comfortable in these gunboat DDs and play them more, and you'll probably notice this as well if you're newer to these gunboat DDs, that a lot of times it's actually better to not even smoke up. I had more than enough HP to handle this Johann, especially given the distances and that I was kiting away already. Fortunately, a Conqueror comes by and spots him, and we're able to take him out. So just a little something to be aware of. When popping smoke can be actually a really bad thing as a gunboat DD, and especially as a torpedo boat information gathering DD, it's very hard to get information from inside a smoke screen. The sap, of course, does pretty solid damage even to a Kaba at these ranges, and you can see our shell velocity is pretty similar to a Kaba. Unfortunately, as a Sherman, I'm not as maneuverable. I don't have the armor plating, right? Kaba gets a 50mm plate, but I do have the extra bonus of some more range, so I feel even pretty comfortable taking this fight, although my aim could use a little work, as we can see here. But if I could aim a little better, I do think I would have taken this Kaba out, and that would have been a nice little pickup as well into 7 kills. There's a lot of potential here for an insanely high kill count game. The high DPM, the fast shell velocity, makes it really easy to pick up a lot of these kills. And some of them, I think I did kind of steal a little bit. Let's talk about that Shema a little earlier. Certainly yoinked that one out from our Marceau who was pushing. But a lot of them, I think, were well-deserved in this game still. Of course, we're going to be bouncing off of an aircraft carrier. That's just how it goes at these ranges. We're going to hit the deck armor. But at least our DD is more than capable of taking him out with his close-range torpedoes. And that is going to do it for this match. Over 200k, 6 kills, and a very fun result out of the Sherman. So I very much do recommend this ship to you guys. If you have the coal for it, it is worth getting. Guaranteed. I think anybody can have a lot of fun in this ship since it is so flexible. So I was initially using much more of a hybrid build, but as promised, I did switch to the full DPM, giving up concealment and superintendent, resulting in only 2 smoke screens. So not a lot of room to maneuver there as far as the smoke and disengage, but with this extra DPM, I feel very confident in taking out the vast majority of destroyers and even some cruisers at mid ranges. Battleships, of course, get absolutely melted, as you saw. Still running Survivability Expert, I do think that one's a must since this ship doesn't have a heal. Getting up to around 28,000 HP is very, very nice. Last Stand, of course. Preventive Maintenance, of course. For that extra 1-pointer, I just went for Incoming Fire Alert. It makes dodging just very easy, very trivial to dodge longer range fire. And a lot of the other 1-pointers aren't particularly good. I am, of course, also using the reload upgrades. This, I don't believe I have changed at all. So the full DPM Sherman is a bit of a monster and a lot of fun to play. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.